Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.
Amigos oyentes de USA la Radio, están escuchando la mesa redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital, y tenemos dos invitados especiales el día de hoy. From HARCUM College, el presidente de HARCUM College, John J. DiTempo, y también nuestro amigo, conocido de nuestros oyentes, don Dario BELLOT. Así que no se vayan, estamos aquí. Bueno, aquí están. Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Fer.
Okay, I already introduced the two of you, don Dario BELLOT, Dr. DiTempo, and so let's al grano, as we say. Let's go to the conversation. Dr. DiTempo, you have a really long pedigree. You have been in education for a long time. I made education the theme of the day precisely because we had invited you to speak. And so why don't we start from there? You came to HARCUM to sort of move ahead with in a different direction, to promote some of your ideas about education, what you believe education should be about. So why don't we start from there?
Sure. As you mentioned, I've been in higher education for a long period of time. I've been president of 3 different institutions, and I came to HARCUM about 14 years ago. And when I arrived, some of my background is, my parents were factory workers. I was the first one to go to college, and I really appreciated that opportunity. And I've kind of carried that forward and always wanting to help people. And that's primarily why I'm in higher education, because you have that great opportunity to actually build people up and help them. So when I got to HARCUM was really struggling at the time, financially and fairly low enrollment. So we started working on that. I have a financial background. I really came up through the financial side of higher education, and I've been also out and I've worked for major corporations. I've had kind of the broad background, if you will. But one of the things that I saw early on was that we had a program that was just getting started. It was kind of struggling because everybody didn't believe in it. And the program really came to the college through an organization called iLead. The CEO of iLead is a guy named David Castro. He had gotten some grants to work on leadership skill programs and for underserved populations. And that's what he was doing. He was working a lot in Reading, also out in Coatesville and Chester. And he got started that way, but it was kind of, well, do people really want to do it at the college or not? And when I came, I did. I thought this was a great thing. We were out there helping people, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So we started building that. Today we have 15 different sites. We call them partnership sites because they're truly partnerships. They're not going in and opening a storefront and just see who's going to come. It's working with the organization. And we work together to give people an opportunity. And I was probably here less than a year, and we had an opportunity, we meaning David Castro and I, to go to another organization and talk to them. And that organization was Congreso de Latinos, and Dario was there at the time, as was Nick Torres. And they had tried to get something going with a larger institution, but there was a lot of bureaucracy. And David and I sat there talking to them and said, if we decide to do it, this is it, we'll go. And we did. And Congreso ended up being, very much a model site for us over time. Nick moved on, and then Dario moved on, and kind of the full cycle is now Dario's with his HARCUM. So I've known Dario off and on for 14 years, and it's been great. And I'm really glad he's here with us at HARCUM, because I think that's very important. He came in January, and he's already doing a great job. So we're really working well together. But the sites, the idea originally was, the first program was called Leadership Skills, or Leadership Studies, excuse me. And I changed it to Leadership Development. And that was the program that we put out in these sites as we got started. When I got here, we had a psychology program, which doesn't really lead to a job. Everything we do at HARCUM leads to a profession, leads to a career. And psychology, the way it was set up, really didn't, but human services did. And there's a lot of needs out there. So, I asked them to start developing it as a human services program. And then we tried that out in these partnership sites. And people really like that. I think the biggest thing that we do is very, very different, is we really remove all the barriers. And when we remove the barriers, what I mean is that people have an opportunity to go to class in an environment they're familiar with. It's within their organization, whether it's a large church or whether it's something like Congreso. So we remove that barrier. They don't have to travel. We remove that barrier. And we price it so they can afford it with the aid that's available out there, federal aid and state aid. So people who never thought they would have an opportunity, suddenly there it is right there, and most of the barriers are removed. And that's what we've been doing. And the success stories, I have to tell you, they're just really great. And this is one that actually came out of Congreso in the early years. There was a young guy who was taking classes with us. He was the youngest of 4 brothers. The first 3 brothers were all incarcerated. He said to us that if he hadn't found Congreso, he would probably be incarcerated too. And he had a chance now, and it was through education. I mean, I believe education raises people up. I believe that if we do it right, we can eliminate a lot of the cultural barriers that we have out there. And that's even more evident today.
I am a big believer in education also. I was on the board of Congreso, actually, when we started thinking about the idea of education. And believe it or not, there was opposition from some of the board members about Congreso getting involved in education. One of the arguments was, we haven't done that. We're risking our brand by doing something we don't know too much about. But anyway, so we did. Dario probably remembers when we started the Pan American Charter.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, I remember that. And I remembered when the new charter school opened. I was there, and I got to say a few words. I didn't know I was going to say a few words till I got there, but I had an opportunity to do that, and I was very appreciative of that. And it's just been a real positive thing, and we just need to keep doing more of that. In a way, it's a good growth strategy. The one campus that we have, the original campus, is here in Bryn Mawr. But we can expand, and there's no limit to our expansion in these programs. In addition to the human services.
One question for you, Doctor.
Sure.
How did the pandemic affect HARCUM and the operations at Congreso? Yeah,
it definitely, the pandemic impacted absolutely everybody, and whether it was business life, education, or personal life, it was a major impact. And I can remember back when it originally started, we were just going on spring break, and I said to myself, boy, we're going to have to extend spring break a week to get this under control. And that, of course, was not what happened in that ensuing 2 weeks. But we had done a lot of work previous to this, not because of the pandemic, but we had done a lot of work getting things online so that when the pandemic hit, we were ready. We actually had everybody set up to be able to deliver the education online. Now that's another barrier. So I had a concern about that. But one of the things that we were able to do was to initiate a laptop loaner program. So people that didn't have a laptop could borrow one from the college, and so that would not interrupt their education. The harder part was broadband. Everybody doesn't have broadband, and that's still a big issue out there,
Right.
particularly in underserved populations. Everybody should be pushing broadband. Everybody should have connectivity. And that's one of the things they should be spending funds on, I believe. So we pivoted pretty fast. We were able to get everybody through that semester. It hit in March. We were able to get through to graduation. And then we did a lot of work over the summer to make sure that all the courses were ready to go online. And we had to do that because all the partnership sites in particular were closed right down. We were closed for a little while in Bryn Mawr, but we were able to open it back up and have a combination. We had a combination of some courses being remote and some courses being hands-on. We have a number of allied health programs in Bryn Mawr, and when you're doing things like dental hygiene and nursing and things like that, you have to be in person to do some of that. So we were extremely careful. We had a lot of protocols, but the big problem was out there in the field. We couldn't do anything because all the sites were closed, and some of them are still closed. They're just starting to open up now. So going forward, we fully plan in the fall to be able to do in-person classes, but by the same token, we're going to offer to people the opportunity to take those courses online as well. So they'll have a combination. We call it hybrid. That's what most people call it. But you have the opportunity, if you can't make the class or you're still a little concerned about getting out there, and I understand that. I really believe that everybody should be vaccinated. I think that's extremely important.
Some colleges are actually demanding a vaccine before the students return. So
Right.
Where is HARCUM in that?
Yeah, we're kind of a hybrid in that too, in that anybody in an allied health program, because they go to hospitals and clinics and things like that, they have to be vaccinated. We also have residence halls on the Bryn Mawr campus. Anybody has to be vaccinated in the residence hall. Beyond that, we're not requiring it. We are leaving it up to the individual, and we're trying to educate rather than mandate. It's a little hard to do when you're out in the partnership sites because, again, we, meaning Bryn Mawr, we don't have all the control over that. The control really is more at the site. The Congresso would have more control over whether people are vaccinated to come into their facility than we would. So we try to work together with each of the sites and what their protocols are. We can suggest and we can work with people, but we can't control that piece of it. The more people that get vaccinated, the better off we're going to be. I think that's key to all this, is getting that done. We're still being very careful. We don't know if the variant will really kick up in our region or not. We know it does in those states where the vaccination rates are extremely low. But we seem to be doing pretty well in Pennsylvania, maybe not so well in the city itself. So that's still an issue.
As a country, we're still not near the herd immunity concept.
No.
And that would be one of the things to aim for. Well, Doctor, we're going to take a very brief pause here en USA la Radio. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Estamos en una conversación con el presidente de HARCUM College, Dr. John J. D. Temple, y nuestro amigo Dario BELLOT. Al otro lado de esta breve pausa, we'll have the big question for you. Regresamos en un momento.
Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Méndez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.
Señores oyentes de USA la Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Tenemos dos invitados especiales, el doctor John J. D. Temple de HARCUM College, presidente, y don Dario BELLOT. Let's see if Dario finds his voice in this segment. A ver, Dario.
La tengo aquí y es un gusto siempre estar en tu programa, Fernando, con los oyentes de USALA. like Dr. Temple was mentioning, very excited to be part of this family that is HARCUM College. A college that has a great history and meet the students where their needs are. As I have been in the community for a number of years, talking to teenagers, junior and senior in college, and understanding what their needs are. And HARCUM College is a great opportunity for them to get their, associate degree, their career that they're gonna hold that for their life.
Well, thank you, Dario. Now, Dr. Di Tempo, one question I promised to ask you the big question here. Nothing tricky. It's just in view of where you are right now, with coming back to what I hope, I expect will be sort of the new normal. Coming back to what you call a hybrid, and many colleges are doing that. Some people present in the classroom, some people doing it from remote sites. So how do you see the future in terms of that? Because what we discovered with the pandemic was that we have this great capability of doing remote learning. So how do you see the future for HARCUM in that regard?
Yeah, here's my concern. I think we do very well with remote, yes. But what I've really pushed is that people who are just starting out, they may not understand, how to do remote and all that. So it's another barrier. So you want to be able to start them out in a face-to-face environment to get them started, to get them going, to just remove. People are nervous about it. We get a lot of older students. As I said, they never thought they would have an opportunity to do it. So I never want to go away from face-to-face, but I really like that combination, particularly as we spread out. As I mentioned, we have 15 different sites. They're not all the same size. So sometimes it's more advantageous to do, as they get farther advanced into their program, to do more remote. So we will always have remote to some extent. We'll take advantage of those capabilities. But by the same token, we want to be face-to-face. The other thing about face-to-face that I think is important is there's more to education than just doing your lessons, just turning in your homework. There's that interchange with people while you're in the classroom, while you're outside the classroom. Mm-hmm. That part you miss when you're online. And, that's part of education. It's not just the books, if you will. And I use the books in quotes because of the remote, but it's much more than that. And I don't want to lose that. So I always think it's important to have a face-to-face element in that. I mean, people are comfortable, particularly in the partnership sites, in their own environment, in their own particular, whether it's classes in the charter school or the tech school, wherever it happens to be, there's that interchange that you don't get when you're doing everything remote. So I really think it's important to do a combination. And I see that as something that we'll always do. We'll leverage our capability on the internet. We'll keep that going, but we'll also never lose sight of people and being able to really see them. That was the biggest thing for me this past year that I did not like. I've always liked to be at small colleges because I get to know my students. I get to know their stories. And that's really a key thing here. And I couldn't do that. We got to graduation. I didn't know hardly anybody. And usually I know just about everybody. I go out to sites, I do those different things. I couldn't do any of that. And I think it's important to have that piece. Even a simple thing like graduation, the first year in the pandemic, it was all virtual. And we did a real good job at it, but it just wasn't the same. So this year I got the idea of let's have a drive-through graduation. So we allowed everybody to drive through the campus here in Bryn Mawr. And I was there. We had a little stage, just like you would do at graduation. They would get out of their cars. Some had their cap and gowns on, some didn't. Walk across the stage. I would present them with a diploma. We had the pictures. just about everything you could think of. And what was actually better about that one was the families actually drove right up to the stage. So they saw, a lot of cases, it was their mom. And I'll give you another example. There was a lady who won what was called the HARCUM Award. It's like 3 big student awards. And she won that because she didn't know she was going to get it till she walked across the stage. And she was older, and she was a partnership site student. And when we announced it, she started crying, but her kids were all excited about it. And I could do something that I couldn't do in a formal graduation. I actually jumped off the stage, went over to the car and said, "You realize your mom got one of the biggest awards going. She's the best of the best." As I was getting back on the stage, I heard one of the girls say, "Mommy, you're the best of the best." So that was kind of cool, but that's the face-to-face stuff that you really need to have. I mean, that's why I'm in this business. And that's why I try to, everybody that we get involved with us, like Dario's a people person too, and that's very important. I actually interview everybody that we hire, not because I'm checking their skill set. I want to know if they fit with our family, because it really is a family. And I want to make sure everybody wants to help people grow. Everybody wants to make people successful. And to me, that's what it's all about. So yes, some of it is still going to be there in terms of the internet and providing that way. But we got to have that face-to-face too. That's so important to me.
No, I agree with you. As an educator, I was a teacher for a long time. One of the rewards is to see how you have affected anybody's life, even to a small extent. So that's it's part of the rewards of being a teacher.
Yeah. Didn't you just love it?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just great to do that.
Yes, and Dario knows that Congreso was very proud of starting the charter school, because that gave us an opportunity to serve the community in a very practical and effective way. So, Dario?
Yeah, one of the things that, Fernando, I think is important for our community is what we were discussing before, is understand their needs. And on that, strategic planning that you were talking before, about how to elevate people in the community, we did 2 pillars. One was education, get everybody a high school diploma and a college degree, and get them a job. That's the way to give them, the opportunity to succeed in life, and to take to the next level in that economic level.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. DiTempo, what do you think of the model of HARCUM that is a very practical application of knowledge to have people get real jobs and start earning money and all that, which is, I find it's one of the main objectives of getting an education. So how is that applicable on a bigger scale?
Yeah, it certainly is. I want to gradually be the bigger scale, but yeah, it's unique. And I think the other thing that's unique about it that I didn't mention before is by going in and partnering with a community organization of some type and providing the education, you're raising that community up. And I always talk about that's what we're doing, raising the community up. And we need to go into the different communities and do that. Because I said this earlier on in the program, we can do a lot to, get rid of this cultural fight, if you will. Everybody needs to understand everybody else. You can do that through education better than any other way, I believe. So it's so important to raise communities up and be able to do that. And that's kind of unique. And I know some other schools have looked at this, but they've never been able to step forward and do it. And I don't know, it's because we're small and we move fast, because we really do. We're just starting a new program in behavioral health sciences that we're going to offer at the partnership sites. There's an opportunity to work in the field of drug addiction, to work in the field. It's kind of a combination. That's one track that you could go on. The other one is working with people on the spectrum. So here's an opportunity for partnership site people, students, to get involved in the sciences. Right now we have the business, we have, as I mentioned, the human services, we have early childhood, and we have criminal justice. And those are programs that all resonate in the communities. But here's another one in the science area that we're starting this fall. So we're trying to provide, great opportunities, but working with our partnership site folks. That's the key. And everybody doesn't want to do that. It takes work. It definitely takes work, but it's well worth it.
Everything takes work and money, and that's where I always feel that our country has not invested enough money in education. I mean, we know the teaching profession has always been underpaid and under-recognized. So we need to change that.
Yeah, I mean, I say this for years.
Yeah, the college, Fernando, receive a number of stimulus funding, not only to help the institution, but to help students to go through this difficult time of COVID. And we're able to put those dollars to the student needs that are, to cover their basic needs to continue into the higher education. The goal of this, CARES Act and the American Recovery Plan Act that was actually with the previous administration and this administration, all that funding was the goal to ensure that there is a continuation of the education and we don't lose the focus.
I think another thing that makes what we do special, and it's probably harder to do, the other barrier that I think that we remove is the fact that it's only a 2-year. If somebody looking at a 4-year college thinks that's a mountain, they'll never be able to do that. Right. But 2-year, they're going to try. And I can tell you, once they try that, they do keep going. We just had one of our students accepted at Columbia University, one of our partnership site graduates. So that shows you what can be done. We've had them go to Drexel. We've had them go to a lot of real good colleges after they get through this program. They do well in the program. Our retention rate is pretty good. Because people really, they really have a mission. They want to be there, and we've removed those other barriers. I always talk about, I walk across the campus in Bryn Mawr, and they tend to be more traditional students, and they like being here. Don't get me wrong, they really do. When I go to a partnership site, they not only like to be there, they have an appreciation for having that opportunity. There's a real appreciation out there for getting that chance that they never thought they'd have. And here we are, right there where they can do it.
Yeah, and a 2-year college may seem like just the start of it, but even a mile-long walk begins with that first step. So the fact that students get interested in education, and that's the challenge, is to get them and to get them interested and to continue.
Get them started, right?
Yeah, I think it's part of our job is, to change the mindset of the students at the high school in our community. For the college is an opportunity for you. A lot of people in our community constantly looking, for a job after they graduate with high school. What a HARCUM College 2 years program does is they give you the opportunity to do college and also work at the same time. And if you don't work during your career after the 2 years, we have great job developers and counselors here at HARCUM that allow you and help the students to get their job. And we see a lot of our students, in particular this time, getting a job and at the same time continue their education. A lot of our students after the 2 years, they take those credits to another 2 more years, to get a degree at the same time that they are working. They're, incredible students, incredible people here. They're doing, the effort of doing both education and work at the same time.
Well, excellent, Dario. Thank you for this. Dr. DeTemple, thank you very much for coming on our show. This is very enlightening, and I'm glad to promote HARCUM because my heart is with Congreso also, and you have been a tremendous help.
Yes, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I enjoyed being here and having a chance. I like to brag about HARCUM anyhow, but it's just great to have the opportunity, and I sincerely appreciate it too. Thank you very much, Fernando.
Well, I hope this is not the only time, so
Okay.
we hope to get you again.
Anytime you want to talk, I'll make myself available.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Señores
thank you.
oyentes de Usa la Radio, hemos estado aquí en una conversación con el doctor John J. D. Temple, el presidente de HARCUM College, y don Darío Bellot, el CFO de HARCUM College. No se vayan, regresamos en un momento.
Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.
Señores oyentes de USA la Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Acabamos de tener una conversación muy interesante con el presidente de HARCUM College, John J. D. Temple, y nuestro amigo Darío Bellot. So, Darío, I asked Darío if he can remain, and we continue conversation. Now he likes to do this in Spanish, so I guess we're going to switch. Darío.
¿Cómo está, Fernando? Y por supuesto.
Oye, muchas gracias. Interesante la conversación con el doctor D. Temple. I didn't want to take any more of his time, but I could have continued for another hour.
And he likes to talk because he's a passion leader.
Yeah, he's great. So we have to bring him back on another occasion, just really address some other issues about education that are very important. So
we'd definitely be, happy to be in the program again. There's a lot to talk, in particular to education, that is what we're talking before, is what is going to move the people in our community to the next level.
Yeah. Anyway, so ¿quieres hablar fútbol?
Seguro. Tú sabes que es mi pasión y en estos días se está pasando mucho de fútbol a nivel europeo, a nivel sudamericano y a nivel Norteamérica también.
Bueno, antes de que se me olvide, felicitaciones por la victoria de Argentina.
Gracias. Para los oyentes que son futboleros, el sábado se jugó la final de la Copa América, que reúne a los países de Sudamérica y sus selecciones tan reconocidas, como la de Brasil con Neymar, la de Argentina con Messi, y por supuesto Colombia, que terminó tercero, así que felicitaciones a ti. Argentina sí se consagró campeón de esta edición de la Copa 2021 de Copa América, ganando a Brasil el sábado 1-0 en el Maracaná, en el famoso estadio donde se jugaron muchos finales del mundo. Tú también te acuerdas del famoso Maracanazo.
¿Qué significado tiene esta victoria de Argentina sobre Brasil?
No, tiene dos significados muy importantes. Una es que es una rivalidad de Sudamérica, tal vez las dos selecciones más fuertes de Sudamérica, y esa rivalidad entre los dos países. Segundo, se iba a jugar en Argentina y el presidente, debido a COVID, dijo que no se podía jugar porque no quería traer delegaciones de distintos países, aunque ellos habían prometido que iban a estar en el bubble a cada selección, pero el presidente Alberto Fernández decidió cancelar la Copa América, y ahí la CONMEBOL, que organiza la Copa América, buscó sede inmediatamente. Había rumores que iba a venir a Estados Unidos, como estuvo acá en el 2016, pero al final terminó Bolsonaro, el presidente de Brasil, aceptando ser sede de la Copa América, en una decisión que para mí fue equivocada, ya que Brasil es uno de los peores países con la pandemia. Pero así todo, el torneo se llevó adelante, muy competitivo en cuanto a los países, y lo más importante, Argentina se declaró campeón. Y lo último es que Messi, que ha ganado el mejor, tal vez, jugador del mundo, que ustedes saben que es argentino y juega en España, Barcelona desde pequeño, y ganó todo en Europa con Barcelona. Nunca había ganado nada con Argentina. Había llegado a 4 finales, la habíamos perdido todo, y por primera vez a sus 34 años gana su primera copa con el seleccionado argentino.
Sí, él salió de esta copa con con varios trofeos, ¿no? Le dieron un trofeo como el mejor jugador del evento, el mejor goleador, no sé qué más. A ver, tú sabes más que yo.
Sí, sí, esas tres copas, la Copa de Campeón y la de goleador y la de mejor jugador, MVP, como la conocemos acá en los Estados Unidos.
Sí.
Así que se llevó todos los galardones, como decimos
Bueno,
nosotros,
pues,
se habla de que van a darle este año el Balón de Oro, que tanto es apreciado como jugadores como Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappé y esas grandes
sí.
internacionales.
Bueno, ahora tienes un problema tú y los argentinos, porque ya había un dios, era Diego Maradona, y ahora tienen dos.
Sí, es un lindo problema a tener, ¿no? Siempre decimos que Maradona tal vez fue el mejor jugador de todos los tiempos. Para los jóvenes que no lo conocen, él brilló en los 80 y en los 90, sacó campeón Argentina en México en 1986 con el seleccionado argentino. Falleció, algo muy triste, falleció el año pasado durante la pandemia, no debido a la pandemia, pero sí debido a que traía muchas secuelas e enfermedades de su vida personal, que siempre fue tan cuestionada, Fernando, que tú
Sí,
también sabes. Por cierto, referido a esto, en Europa se jugó también la final de la Eurocopa con los seleccionados de Europa, en donde Italia le ganó por penales a Inglaterra en el último partido muy controversial. Felicitaciones a los italianos y a las comunidades italianas aquí en el área. Y ahora se habla de la FIFA está organizando lo que se llama el partido final, Copa Maradona, Diego Armando Maradona, entre Argentina, el ganador de la Copa América, y Italia, el ganador de la Eurocopa, tal vez en diciembre. En el
sí.
estadio se están haciendo trámites para hacerlo en el estadio Diego Armando Maradona en Nápoli, en Italia, que lleva su
Qué
nombre.
bien.
Él jugó y sacó campeón del calcio,
Pues
fútbol
ojalá
italiano.
se pueda hacer, pero yo te digo que es redundante porque todos los nombres serán italianos.
Sí, eso es verdad, porque como tú sabes, Argentina tiene muchos inmigrantes italianos y también españoles. Algo muy cómico que leía con mi comunidad argentina, dice, se cuestionaba que sea en Italia ese partido, porque dicen que los italianos van a ser los locales. Igualmente en Nápoli, donde es la casa de Maradona, donde hay estatuas de Maradona, el argentino. Los argentinos decimos que en Nápoli, aunque sea dentro de Italia, nosotros vamos a ser los locales, porque Nápoli es una ciudad argentina en Italia, debido a
Sí.
Diego Armando Maradona.
Pero ¿cómo está esto del COVID en Italia y en Nápoles?
Creo que está complicado con la segunda, bueno, más de la segunda ola, ¿no? Pero con esta
Sí.
nueva variante. Igualmente el partido se habla para diciembre.
Okay. De aquí a allá vamos a ver qué pasa, ¿no? Sí, ve lo que está pasando con Japón
Sí.
y los Juegos Olímpicos. Complicado el asunto por el COVID. No van a tener público en los estadios. Están prohibiendo la venta de alcohol. No sé qué más van a hacer. Y debían haber cancelado ese evento.
Sí, bueno, ya la habían cancelado, si tú recuerdas, ¿no? El año pasado la corrieron
Sí.
para este año y se corre mucho peligro. Por eso todos estos eventos internacionales, los de fútbol que hablábamos ahora, los de las Olimpiadas, corren mucho peligro en cuanto a el objetivo de los gobiernos de bajar el índice, por supuesto, de muertos, hospitalizaciones y contagios del virus, ¿no? Y estos eventos a nivel nacional e internacional, que trae mucha gente de todos lados, sinceramente no ayuda. Volviendo al tema del alcohol, como tú ya habíamos hablado antes, que ahora hay muchas esperanzas para el Mundial de Fútbol de Qatar del 2022, el año que viene. Y hay muchos países que están viendo cómo van a hacer para viajar a Qatar, ese país tan pequeño en el Medio Oriente.
Y no quieren vender alcohol tampoco ahí.
Exacto. Cosa que para los ingleses, como tú sabes bien, a los alemanes que van a los mundiales y siguen a sus selecciones, eso va a ser un problema muy grande. Pero la FIFA, que es la Organización Internacional de Fútbol, ya arregló con el gobierno de Qatar que van a poner zonas liberadas de alcohol. Dicen que van a hacer estas tiendas tal vez en el medio del desierto, donde solamente van a vender alcohol, la gente va a ir, va a tomar ahí y nada más, porque en Qatar hoy es un país que no venden alcohol en todo el país por un tema de religión. Muy interesante.
Van a tener que vender un montón de cerveza porque con ese calor de 100 grados de temperatura, ¿quién quiere tomar vino?
Sí, totalmente algo para cualquier deporte y más para el fútbol, jugar un partido de fútbol a 100 grados. Generalmente el mundial se hace en junio, julio, que es el verano de allá. Y esta vez lo corrieron por primera vez a diciembre, que es el invierno. En lugar de hacer 100 o 110 grados, la temperatura baja a 90 grados. Igualmente, un calor terrible.
Sí, viste la temperatura más alta del mundo aquí en Death Valley, en California. 130 grados, creo.
Wow. Es parte del global warming, ¿eh? Que mucha gente
parte de eso.
reconocer.
Pero bueno, yo no sé. Yo quiero hablar por un minuto sobre la corrupción de la selección de estos sitios para los mundiales. Lo de Rusia y lo de Qatar estuvo muy chueco.
Sí, hay muchos juicios aquí en Estados Unidos con dirigentes de la FIFA y también en Suiza. Y hay evidencias de que hubo básicamente lo que se llama coimas o bribes a dirigentes de la FIFA que eligieron la sede. El problema ya empezó con reventa de entradas de dirigentes de la FIFA en el Mundial de Brasil 2014, se extendió a Rusia en el Mundial de 2018 y después también la elección de Qatar para a un mundial, que es un país que no es futbolístico, o sea, casi no se juega al fútbol allá. Por supuesto que tienen dinero y toda la infraestructura para organizarlo, pero no es un país futbolero y así todo salió como sede del mundial, que como tú sabes se realiza cada 4 años, una vez en Europa, otra vez en América y en algunas ocasiones en Asia.
Sí. Hay más tradición futbolística en el Vaticano, que pasaría lo mismo si hicieran allá la sede del Mundial.
Sí, con el Papa solo, tal vez jugando.
Con el Papa argentino, eso.
Exactamente. Esa ciudad tan pequeñita en Roma, ¿no? Tan bonita.
Sí. Oye, hablando de la competencia en Europa, que ganó Inglaterra contra Italia. Y ganó
Italia contra Inglaterra, perdón.
Italia ganó contra Inglaterra en Londres, que eso fue todavía una ofensa más grave.
Sí, hay un problema grave que se suscitó de racismo y esto me hace acordar un poco a lo de Colombia cuando quedó eliminado en un mundial y el jugador, si mal no recuerdo, Córdoba fue asesinado. En Inglaterra los jugadores cuando salieron del estadio y viajaron, los que erraron los penales son todos de raza negra.
Sí.
Y fueron agredidos los hinchas, los fanáticos y también tratando de agredir a algunos jugadores. Algo realmente del siglo pasado, pero despierta un cierto racismo hacia los jugadores negros que están en el seleccionado de Inglaterra que erraron ese penal, ¿no?
Sí, atribuirle las fallas a la raza es un absurdo. El mejor jugador de la historia fue Pelé, entre los grandes de nuestra época está Ronaldo y Neymar. Es un absurdo esto de atribuirle el racismo a...
Sí, pero está inmerso, tú sabes, en muchos de los ciudadanos de Inglaterra y por supuesto también en Estados Unidos. Y cuando hay un episodio así, sobre todo en el fútbol, que despierta tanta pasión, surgen esos emociones que tiene esta gente en cierta manera sometida por muchos años, les da esta oportunidad totalmente injustificada, ¿no? Hay varios países en Europa en sus seleccionados de fútbol tienen jugadores negros que vienen de África o que son de sus países natales. Lo tiene Francia, lo tiene Inglaterra, lo tienen algunos países.
Casi todos, ¿no? Holanda, Bélgica, todos tienen. Por el asunto de las colonias, muchos de ellos pues vienen de la América Latina, muchos jugadores. Bueno, Darío, vamos a tomar una breve pausa aquí en Usa la Radio. Vamos a continuar esta conversación con nuestro amigo Darío Bellot. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos, controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un momento.
Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Méndez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.
Bueno, señores oyentes de USA la Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Darío Bellot nos acompañan al día de hoy. Y antes de que se me olvide, es 14 de julio, el día de la Bastilla, Bastille Day. El 14 juillet, que lo celebran en Francia con champán. Así, así pueden beber. Pero Francia también sufrió mucho por el COVID y todavía está, bueno, ya ha mejorado mucho, pero es una situación que hay una segunda onda de COVID viajando por todo el mundo. Hay varias versiones de este virus que no quieren rendirse a las vacunas. Hablando de vacunas, don Darío Bellot, yo estoy vacunado, tú estás vacunado.
Yo me di los dos de Moderna, sí, y también mis hijos. Yo tengo 3 hijos, 2 varones de 12 y 16, y ellos ya están con las 2 dosis vacunados hace más de un mes.
Sí, y bueno, tuvimos un segmento sobre la educación y yo sostengo que eso es lo que hace falta, educar más a la gente de esto. ¿Cómo es un absurdo que la gente quiera prácticamente cometer suicidio por no vacunarse?
No, sin duda, creo que estoy totalmente de acuerdo contigo, es un problema de educación. Yo tuve la oportunidad durante la pandemia de viajar al sur de los Estados Unidos bastante, Florida y la parte de Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, esos países, esos estados son los que tienen más bajo los índices de vacunación, y creo que sin duda, aunque esto duela decirlo, es un problema de educación. Muchos ciudadanos del sur lo ponen como tema de libertad, de freedom, que el gobierno no me va a decir qué hacer, ¿no? Pero es un tema de ciencia y también por supuesto, de educación y de respeto a otra persona. Porque si tú llevas el virus, es muy fácil de contagiar. Las estadísticas, mire, estaba leyendo ayer del coronavirus, es de cada persona que lo tiene, la posibilidad de contagio es a otras 3 personas. Esta nueva variante es a 6 personas, o sea, doble el contagio de lo que era la cepa original de coronavirus.
Es increíble que haya gente que compre esa idea que están vendiendo muchos radicales de derecha, que el gobierno quiere vacunarlos para inyectarles algo malo, para dañarles la vida. Bueno, sé que hubo algo, ¿no? Que la población negra tiene sospechas de que el gobierno puede hacer eso, pero este no es el caso aquí. Hay demasiadas pruebas de que lo que estamos haciendo es lo que hay que hacer, vacunarse contra este virus.
Sin duda. Sin duda, son parte de esas teorías que es muy, creo que, un fenómeno de esta sociedad moderna, y mucho social media tiene que ver con ello, ¿no? Hablamos, sí, creo que durante las elecciones de ese virtual reality, que la gente se hace sus propias realidad virtual, y este caso de coronavirus y de la vacuna es otro caso bien claro, ¿no? Sí. Que social media saca un argumento que no es basado en ciencia y mucha gente se lo cree.
Bueno, desafortunadamente esto llegó desde arriba, del liderazgo político, que no querían escuchar la ciencia, y los científicos que podían hablar, como el doctor Fauci, los sacaron lo sacaron del medio. Fauci lo aislaron, ¿no? El señor Trump dijo que él era el portavoz del gobierno en cuanto al virus, y ya sabemos que estaba recomendando una cantidad de idioteces, como inyectarse Lysol y ¿qué más? Una luz para mirar dentro del cuerpo, no sé, un poco de barbaridades. En todo caso, eso es parte de la gran mentira que nos está tratando de vender el Partido Republicano, de que el señor Trump no perdió en noviembre y que él vuelve ahora en agosto.
es otra de esas realidades virtuales que la gente no tiene ningún tipo de fundamento y que no, por supuesto, no se van a dar. Estamos en una nueva era, en una nueva etapa, Fernando, donde la realidad es una, donde hay ahora libertades. También muchos republicanos criticaban si Biden ganaba en noviembre, que nos íbamos a quedar en cuarentena, nos íbamos a quedar adentro, no iba a haber libertades, todo el mundo tenía que usar las máscaras. Y es básicamente lo opuesto. Se demostró que con un plan de vacunación se abrieron los negocios, se abrieron las escuelas, se abrió la economía, que está en récord de crecimiento. Y las máscaras ahora es una opción, que está tanto, la gente pedía el freedom, ¿no? Para usar las máscaras. Sinceramente, ahora si estás vacunado, no estás obligado a usarlo y es decisión tuya si las quieres usar o no. Entonces, ahora sí alcanzamos ese freedom que los republicanos hablaban, que no se iba a llegar si ganaba Biden y no fue así.
Pues hablando de ignorancia, creo que fue en Missouri, que el gobierno suspendió las vacunas, aún para los jóvenes. ¿Hasta dónde llega la ignorancia? Porque ahí es donde será imposible llegar a esto que llaman de herd immunity, porque no, hay tanta gente que no se quiere vacunar. Pero sí. Bueno, yo lo que digo es, hello Darwin, porque esta gente va a disminuir en números. Mira, Darío, aquí el tiempo vuela antes de que se me olvide. Bueno, primero que todo agradecerte que hayas venido al programa y sobre todo con tu influencia para traer al doctor Di Tempo. ¿Qué va a pasar con esto del juego que tú dices entre Argentina y Italia si el virus continúa? Porque es una gran idea. Sería casi una decisión de un campeonato mundial.
Sí, sin duda, porque sería una final entre Europa y Sudamérica, que tal vez son las dos grandes potencias a nivel futbolístico. Yo creo que se puede hacerla sin duda porque los equipos se hacen lo que se llama el bubble, que es básicamente los 22 jugadores con los técnicos. Eso se mantiene el bubble. La gran pregunta es si hay un incremento en esta nueva cepa de coronavirus, si va a haber público en el estadio o no. O sea, se puede jugar, como en muchos países todavía se está jugando, fútbol a puertas cerradas, digamos, sin público y todo televisión. O sea, yo creo que eso no va a ser un impedimento.
¿Tú crees que lo de la televisión entonces sí es factible, no?
Sí, sin duda la televisión es lo que mueve y los sponsors son los que mueven la economía más que la venta de tickets en los estadios. Okay. Aunque en un partido así sería increíble tener gente en los estadios. La Copa Europea se jugó con público en Inglaterra. Sí. La Copa de América se jugó sin público en Sudamérica, excepto en la final, que se regalaron, creo que eran 10.000 entradas en el Maracaná a brasileños y argentinos.
Ok, pero ahora sí tienes que decirme, ¿Messi o Ronaldo? ¿Quién es mejor?
Bueno, Messi está en sus últimos años, sin duda, o sea, con mi camiseta argentina, por supuesto que Messi ganó más balones de oro y ganó más con el Barcelona que lo que ganó Ronaldo.
Esa es tu respuesta.
Messi.
Messi, no porque seas argentino, ¿eh?
No.
Simplemente porque sí es un campeón. No, en serio, yo admiro mucho a Messi. Es difícil esto de decidir quién es el mejor del mundo y todo esto, pero él tiene tantas credenciales, ha ganado tantos trofeos, etcétera, que es imposible negarle su grandeza.
Despierta algo interesante que es con los niños. Yo vi a muchos niños pequeños, también fanáticos de Ronaldo y de Neymar, pero a mí me llama mucho la atención niños pequeñitos que juegan al fútbol, cómo lo admiran, ¿no? A Messi, sí. Porque es afuera, dentro de la cancha y también afuera de la cancha, y eso es muy lindo ver.
Exacto. Sí, estaban diciendo el otro día que es un hombre tan fiel a su esposa que en ninguna fotografía lo ves abrazando mujeres.
Exacto. Sí. Es un hombre de familia con sus hijos y su esposa. Su esposa es una chica del barrio que conoció en la escuela secundaria y ha estado con él toda su vida. Que
toda su vida, sí.
Lo que se lo compara a Maradona, ¿no? Maradona ganó todo en la cancha, pero en la vida personal tuvo muchos problemas a nivel familiar, a nivel drogas. Messi es lo opuesto en ese sentido.
Bueno, Darío, mira, ha sido otra hora que el tiempo vuela. Te agradezco mucho que hayas venido a nuestro programa el día de hoy. Y señores oyentes, estuvimos en una conversación aquí con nuestro amigo Darío BELLOT hablando sobre varios temas y anteriormente con el presidente de HARCUM College, donde Darío es el CFO, porque él es una persona muy importante. Bueno, se despide de ustedes Fernando Méndez y nuestro ingeniero de sonido aquí, Dani Ramos. Los esperamos hasta la próxima.
Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Méndez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.